Hello guys, what is happening? It is June 11th, and what did you think of my new video intro? I wanted to share something about the history of Bitcoin. Actually, it's more like the prehistory of Bitcoin. Why does Bitcoin exist? There is a definite reason why Bitcoin exists. In fact, it's time coincident exactly with the housing market crash of 2008. And I was just reading this book yesterday, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And I was just reading one paragraph from this yesterday, and I wanted to share this, and it ties into why Bitcoin exists. So this subheading is entitled The Subprime Meltdown. By 2008, the engine of destruction was running at full throttle. Decades of low interest rates had lured homeowners, speculators, and lending institutions into the real estate market, where fortunes could be made by what appeared to be perpetually rising values. So homes seemed like they were just going up forever, and you could just get a great deal on a home and it would just increase in value. A no-brainer, right? Knowing that they would be bailed out by the Fed if they got into trouble, large banks threw caution to the wind and offered loans to just about anyone who would sign the documents, regardless of the ability to make payments. Many of them crafted fraudulent documents overstating the value of underlying properties and the incomes of borrowers, and then made loans that were greater than the value of the property. The game was simple: make as many subprime loans as possible, package them into large blocks of similar loans, give the packages impressive names such as Prime Diversified Fund, and then sell them to unsuspecting investors. Two of the largest conduits for this scam are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, loan repackagers sponsored by the government. The scheme worked for a while because the Fed's artificially low interest rates created a real estate boom with rising home prices. Those who had been enticed into loans they could not afford were able to sell their properties at a profit and come out ahead, even if they could not afford payments. Foreclosures were rare, and the investment packages appeared to be solid. However, as with all booms caused by manipulation of market forces, the real estate boom came to an end. When it did, it was compounded by rampant inflation, high taxes, crippling regulation, and loss of jobs to other countries, all of which combined to create an economic recession. As foreclosure rates began to climb, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, large banks, and loan brokers were in trouble. Not only were their loans not performing, they became defendants in hundreds of lawsuits from institutional buyers of their fraudulent investment packages. It was time once again for the Federal Reserve to bail them out, which it did with over $1 trillion of newly created money. Ambrose Evans Pritchard with the London Telegraph reports. The emergency bailout gives the U.S. Treasury sweeping authority to inject capital into the giant mortgage lenders Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which together own or guarantee half the country's $12 trillion stock of home loans. The ceiling on the U.S. national debt has been lifted by a further $800 billion, giving the Treasury almost unlimited resources to prop up the two lenders. In parallel, the Federal Housing Authority, FHA, is to guarantee up to $300 billion of fresh mortgages for struggling homeowners trapped with soaring loan costs, often the result of honey trap contracts. The scheme aims to avoid an avalanche of fresh defaults as the housing market continues to deteriorate. Over 740,000 homes fell into foreclosure in the second quarter. The share prices of Fannie and Freddie, the world's two biggest financial institutions, have dropped by almost 85%. So this was the housing market of 2008, and this was what the Federal Reserve did to, quote-unquote, handle the problem. They printed money out of thin air and bailed out these places. So what was the result that this had? Aside from the fact that it devalued your and my money and everyone's money, let's see what happened. So I'm going to show you some pictures here. This first picture is of the Times newspaper, and it says, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." This newspaper is from 2009. If you look at this next image, This is actually within the first block of the Bitcoin blockchain as created on 2009. It says the times 03/January, so January 3rd, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So basically what Satoshi did, the creator of Bitcoin, is he took the caption from the newspaper article and he embedded it into the block, the first block. That's one clue as to why Bitcoin exists. The very first block contains that exact phrase. Now let's look at, this is from a Wikipedia article on Bitcoin. In October 2008, Nakamoto published a paper on the cryptography mailing list at metsdoud.com describing the Bitcoin digital currency. It was titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. In January 2009, Nakamoto released the first Bitcoin software that launched the network and the first units of the Bitcoin cryptocurrency called Bitcoins. So as you can see the timing on this, he published a paper in October 2008, which was the year of the housing crash, and the software came out in January 2009. And with that first message in the first Bitcoin block, you can see that Bitcoin was a direct result of the irresponsible spending habits and bailout of the Federal Reserve. And now just to top it off here, this is what happens when governments continue to print money. When they debase and devalue money over time, it becomes worth less and less and less because there's more and more supply. It's a simple matter of supply and demand. And this picture here is a pile of Venezuelan bolivars. This photo was taken this month, June 2018, and you'll see it sitting next to a $1 bill. And that is because this pile is equivalent to $1. Believe it or not. That looks like it's about 10 pounds of paper. And it's not a joke. They have to literally bring a backpack full of money right now to buy a lunch. And they don't count the bills because who has time to count 10,000 pieces of paper? So what they do is they actually weigh the money. They weigh the stacks of money and they can determine how much you have based on how much weight of paper you're carrying with you. So I just thought that was pretty mind-blowing. It's a real wake-up call just to show what can happen. We think that we're safe from this kind of thing, and I don't believe so. I think it's really just a matter of time before we experience the next economic collapse of the dollar. Historically speaking, currencies last for an average of 27 years. Just 27 years. Some more, some less. I think the US dollar is on the higher end of that average. But you take a country like Venezuela, and here we have hyperinflation stages being reached. And it's happened before. It's happened with other countries as well. So just wanted to share that little tidbit today. The history, the prehistory of why Bitcoin exists and why all cryptocurrencies actually exist to this day. It was created out of necessity to solve a problem, the problem that governments have been creating. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant because it's a peaceful, passive, yet unstoppable resistance. And the blockchain is unstoppable because it's decentralized. You can't shut it down because there's not a single point of failure. And that in its essence right there is the entire gift that Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they may be, gifted to us. And I think it's the best gift that mankind could have received for freeing themselves from economic tyranny. So anyways, there you go, guys. Just thought that you might find that interesting. I hope you're having a great day. Take care. Bye.